This is the sophomore slump episode of the RogueHQ podcast. Also, the stress management episode as we're talking about Darkest Dungeon today. Yeah, how we doing, Skip?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
Not too bad. Not
I'm
too bad.
I'm
Excited for the podcast. Excited for Yangs.
yeah, I'm excited that I didn't have the same technical difficulties that I had last time.
You hit the button this time, Skip. You
Hit the button, hit the button. Endercrow says hello. Red Slayer gave us a little wave. Hello to you and everybody else
Hi,
who
everybody.
is joining in. I know that No Doubt as well. My son is also listening in. So, hey there, No Doubt. What's up? So anyway, so what do we got going today?
Yeah, I mean, Darkest Dungeon. Later, we're going to be talking about kind of some E3 stuff. I know that, and then PlayStation crossplay, as well as the gaming disorder by the national.
Yeah, the
thing that
World Health
and-
Organization, I think was.
Yes.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I saw that.
WHO.
Yeah,
So
cool
then we'll be
stuff.
talking about that. But first off, kicking it off with our roguelike highlight, which is Darkest Dungeon this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know last time the format that we had set was, hey, you and I would talk about the game, go through it, do a little review. But it seems like, especially with Darkest Dungeon, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Yangarangs. Hopefully some of you have. But that's pretty much all he plays. And he's really good at it and has put more hours into that game than I have into most other roguelikes combined. So it made sense to kind of bring him in right away. Right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course. He knows so much about it. We couldn't leave him out of the conversation.
Right. So let me flip over the scene real quick. Just hang on a sec here. Let me throw us into standby so I can get this all set up right. Ah, there we go. This is there's Yangs. Hey man, welcome to the RogueHQ podcast.
What's up, guys?
Was that your cat we were hearing before in the background?
You know it. He's getting all meowy. He knows when I'm not paying attention. I'm doing something else. He's like, "Hey, what you doing?"
Yeah.
Meow. He looks pretty grumpy right now.
Total
Hey, buddy.
grumpy cat. Total grumpy cat. Yeah, so
Darkest Dungeon. Oh man, that is my mistress.
yeah, that's actually how I discovered you. I had knee surgery, and so I was staying up super
Yeah.
late hours, and I was like, "Hey, let's check out who's playing games," because no one was on that I knew at like I think it was like 2 a.m. I'm like, "Well, here's a guy who looks kind of cool playing Darkest Dungeon," and that was I was very impressed by your stream, and especially when you told me you'd only been playing for like a week at that point.
It was a pretty chance meeting. Yeah, I had been streaming for like not even a full week. I think it was like 6 days, and every day I got a new piece and a new part, and it got better and better each day. But eventually you show up and you start introducing me to a bunch of communities and stuff. And holy cow, that was a big door open for me. So I got to give you mad props for that, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just sharing the love, so what I
One
mean,
thing about your stream, Yangs, is you're always at like 4 a.m. and you gotta be up pretty late to catch Yangs, but it's totally worth it. You should definitely do it if you're up at that hour.
Yeah, late night streams. I haven't been streaming much lately. Got to get back on the wagon, back on the bike.
yeah, absolutely. So what started you streaming? What was the genesis that said, "Hey, this is something I should try out"?
You know, it was kind of like a twofold operation. I started with the mentality of trying to become a little more social. I'm not the most outgoing person. I don't, go and talk to people at parties and whatnot. I'm pretty introverted. And I thought this would be a good way to learn to be more outgoing. And it ended up being something I just couldn't get enough of. It was a ton of fun, and turns out it's a lot easier to talk to people when you don't see their faces and they're just text in a chat window. It's a lot easier to identify and chat with people when you don't have to look them directly in the eye. I guess that was the big start point for me, is I wanted to improve myself in the way I wanted to get better at talking, and it's my confidence is through the roof thanks to streaming.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
So obviously, you had to take a little bit of a break now just because of some issues with technical things, but you're definitely going to get back into it. I'm excited to see you play some of the Color of Madness I know we're going to talk about later.
Can't wait to dive into that.
So if I were to ask you the normal question we ask with what is your favorite game, we're probably going to hear Darkest Dungeon. So tell me first if that's correct. And if it's not, okay, what's the second favorite?
You know, if I had to say my all-time favorite game, it would have to be, you know, I can't narrow it down to a single game. I have to narrow it down to a game franchise.
Okay.
And that would be Warcraft. I absolutely love Warcraft. It's been something that's been there for me my whole life, and it's one of the first games I ever played was Warcraft 2. On to World of Warcraft. That's basically just straight up heroin for me. I can't get enough of it. Aside from that, yeah, Darkest Dungeon takes a solid second place behind basically Blizzard. I love Blizzard. I'm a fanboy.
Sure.
That's the best answer I could give.
Did your Warcraft love expand to StarCraft and all that as well?
Oh yeah, Diablo, StarCraft. I played a bit of Overwatch, but I'm just garbage at shooters. I'm more of a slow-paced gamer. I'm better at thinking out my strategies than just, you know, running and gunning kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool.
But shit, Darkest Dungeon, it easily holds second place in my heart simply because of I want to say the art style, but the whole atmosphere of the game.
Yeah,
really,
I was going to ask how you ended up getting into Darkest Dungeon in the first place.
That would be the first trailer I saw. This was back when it was basically in early access, and you could pay to, you know, test the game for them. And I saw the trailer, and the trailer had that amazing voice actor, the narrator. I couldn't get enough of him. And from there, I was like, oh, I'm buying this game. I got to try it. And the gameplay turned out being exactly what I wanted. Slow, strategic, methodical, difficult. And that was everything I could have asked for. And the game just got better and better as it got worked on. So playing since early access, it was really nice being able to watch it evolve into what it is now. It was a lot of fun. And shit, I had to get better at the game. Every turn that was taken, you know, you had to rethink your life decisions. Oh God, what am I doing?
Yeah, so definitely I have felt some of that. Have you had any interesting, I guess before we go full on to Darkest Dungeon, here's something that I like to know from everybody. What has been sort of your like thing that you tried, if there's been anything that just didn't pan out the way you wanted it to go with streaming? Has there been anything
with
like
streaming?
that? Yeah, with streaming specifically.
I think it's mainly I kind of got myself stuck in this groove of like the only thing I wanted to stream was Darkest Dungeon. I tried streaming other games and I get frustrated and like I wasn't very good at it, and I felt like that wasn't content people wanted to see. And every time I tried a different game, like there was nothing but support. No one ever said, hey, go back to Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
But there was lots of moments where I felt like, shit, you know, I'm just so much better at Darkest Dungeon. I should just keep doing that. I'm more fun to watch when I'm playing something I'm good at, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the biggest block for me is getting out of Darkest Dungeon itself and trying to stream something else. That's got to be it.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to break out of a mold, especially if you put yourself in it. I feel the same way. That's what I stream. Is I stream Enter the Gungeon half the time, and every stream has been that for me. So trying to break out of that, and I've been trying to make myself learn Darkest Dungeon on stream and things like that. So I totally get what you mean when you're trying to break out of that shell that you almost
yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like you put yourself there, just like you said. No one else expects you to stream just that game, but you look at yourself going, well, this is my best content. I better keep it up or something, you know?
That is an interesting point that I felt, because it feels like there are two really accepted versions of playing a game. There's one which is the fully established person who knows what they're doing, who someone asks a question and they can answer it. They're the walking wiki of the game. They're also showing you the tricks and the tools of the trade. And then you've got, on the other side, the other acceptable one that I feel like is the first playthrough. Like, I'm just starting this. You're watching me play through this game for the first time, and that becomes an event. Where I feel like I felt a bit of pressure, too, is this isn't my first time playing it, but I'm not great at it, Like, it's when I play Enter the Gungeon, for example. I get to the wall and I die completely. Like, there's some bosses I can't get past. Every now and then I die on the first boss, and I'm like, great, that's on stream. The guy who can't get past the first boss, that most people are like, oh, just get me through. This is so boring, you know? Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have felt that as well, that it's just a little bit of discomfort when you're in that kind of middle ground.
Yeah, you're kind of put into a different spot, and you're kind of put into a weird situation when people come in, because I feel like either people expect you to, like you're saying, know everything or know nothing, almost. So it's difficult being kind of in the middle. And I know Skip, you stream a ton of different games, and you know a good amount about a lot of things that I about.
Oh no, we're losing Yangs. He's got a really pensive look on right now.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Hey, if you need to disconnect and reconnect, we can keep going and bring you back in. That's not a problem. Just let us know.
Probably the cat pulled the Ethernet cord. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. Oh nope, he's back. He's moving.
Ooh, yeah, no, my MS just jumped up to 55K for a second there. That was interesting.
Gotta careful up there. It's stuff's lagging a bit. This connection here.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It's got to be on my end. It's got to be. My roommate's probably streaming something. Who knows?
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So let's talk Darkest Dungeon proper. So obviously the artwork for the background today is actually from the Color of Madness DLC. And this is where it's weird. I have played some of it and you have not yet. Is that correct?
Quite correct. I have not dove in.
Now,
I've not dove into the madness.
I've dove into it for a total of 3 hours last night, like not long at all. So it's not like I've put in, took off days of work and have been just living in it. I think I got to the farmstead, which is the new area that you unlock once. But that aside, you mentioned a little bit about how you like how it's slow, methodical, and strategic. But I guess which of those, like, because if anyone doesn't know the game, there is so much going on with the game. There's all this stress management. You've got the fact that characters die and you lose them. You lose level 5 or 6 characters, hopefully not all the time, but I lost one a week ago, which was not a fun day. But what about that strategic piece was your specific draw? If you could just kind of get us into your head there on the game itself, and what keeps you coming back so much?
I think it's how precise the gameplay is. Lots of games you play these days, it's like, oh shit, I hit that guy for 1,000 damage. That's awesome. Whereas this game, your numbers don't even exceed 80 on a good crit. Like I've seen damage for 100 once in my 600 hours of playing it. So I think it's about how precise it is. By keeping the numbers a bit smaller, your character health pool is 20 at a starting level. It makes it a lot easier. And
oh no, we lost him a little bit.
A lot more.
Oh wait, he's back.
This game is really big. Oh, am I losing it again?
Just a bit, but we're actually all right.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. My roommate must be doing something. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying, it's a lot to do with how I'm completely gone here now, aren't I?
That's okay. It threw you off a little bit, so that's not an issue. So I guess tell me, describe a little bit about, when do you feel like you actually were, or maybe you haven't yet, but when did you feel like you actually got a little bit accomplished in the game, where you actually were like, okay, now I feel like I'm kind of an expert?
Probably when they finally released Radiant mode and I cleared the game for the first time. I think that was the moment that really made me feel like I was getting good at it. You finally managed to see the last boss, you killed him, you did the thing, banner, you win. That was probably the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah. That was a question for me, because I've been playing the game. I haven't been able to actually beat the game yet. And actually, while we're talking here, I'm going to throw up a video of it so people can kind of see not only the game itself, but also a little bit about sort of the new stuff that's going on with it. So, as we get past that host, there's Gina with the host. But you know, while we're watching this game here, I mean, it's a tough game as it gets up there, and you reach certain levels where, you know, you are actually fighting these monsters that show up, and you're trying to kind of get through these dungeons and everything. If you don't know about an area and you're going into it, you can easily lose so many characters and feel like you set yourself back a certain number of hours, which is certainly actually what's been happening to me lately in the game. And I think we actually may have officially just lost Yangs, so maybe we can just talk to him until he's back.
I'm here, but I don't think my camera's working.
Oh, that's okay. I don't have your camera on there anyway, because we're watching some actual Color of Madness gameplay going on right now.
Okay.
But if you could talk about, I mean, you said for you, you had to be through Radiant mode that you beat it the first time. Did that give you the confidence to figure out the areas, or, you know, have you only beaten the game on Radiant mode? Like, how did you get past that hump?
So essentially, it was always when you get to those champion level, like the third difficulty, the red difficulty, you always get there and you always start to get a little scared, you know? Like you take out your level 5s, you've put hours of gameplay into this character, getting him where he is, and it could all go south with a single bad move, you know, one crit from an enemy and suddenly your favorite plague doctor's gone. I think that was always the moment where I started to get really scared, and where Radiant mode came in, it made me a little more willing to lose a character because it was easier to get him back up to that level. And that in turn made me take a few more risks. I was much more willing to say, hey, let's try taking 2 grave robbers. Let's try taking, you know, 2 crusaders, because that's all I got to offer. And after, you know, endless amounts of trial and error, you find yourself going, oh shit, this is what works. This is how I do this. You know, champion level difficulty isn't too bad if I am fully prepared for it. I think that was the moment where like the light bulb went on and I went, shit, yeah, this game's the shit. I can't get enough of this.
Okay.
Yeah, the game, especially starting out, it's so unruly and things like that. And I mean, that's what's drawn me to it. It's like, all right, this is actually difficult. And, you know, I watched Skip stream it, I watched Yangs you stream it before I even picked it up myself, and it was like, okay, this is a little harder than it looks.
Yeah, we pro players can make it look a little easy. Ah, shit, I'm not pro. I'm just mediocre. I've seen people way better than me.
So you talked about Radiant mode, which is essentially like kind of the easy version, the easy mode for casual players. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's a good place for people to start who are brand new? Or if someone's wanting to start the game, where do I start? Do I just dive in and have everyone wipe and then get frustrated, and then start over? What's the best way you think to start?
I absolutely recommend Radiant mode. The thing about it is it doesn't make the game any easier. It just makes the game a little quicker. So all that grind to get, you know, all of your heirlooms to upgrade the blacksmith or whatever, all of that is downsized slightly. So you don't need as much experience to level a hero. You don't need as much gold to upgrade equipment. You don't need as many heirlooms to upgrade the town, which makes the game a little easier to play because you're not struggling by week 5 to, you know, get a level 2 weapon just so you can handle something. And Radiant mode helps a lot with that by just downsizing the grind and making the gameplay a lot quicker. You can clear the game in, you know, 50 weeks instead of 100 weeks.
Okay. That, I really wish I'd played on Radiant mode now that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds amazing, because that's what's always killing me is the resources in the game, which after you're in the battle, we're watching kind of a battle sequence going on in Color of Madness. After you're done with all this, you go back to the homestead, you upgrade your characters, you upgrade your weapons, but it's through things you've collected while you're doing the grind through. And your characters are leveling up, but the level doesn't matter much because it just allows them to buy more armor and weapons. And yeah, their health does go up, but you really have to do that treasure, you know, mining throughout the dungeon. And so having something that would alleviate that burden off of me, because I'm always running out of money. Like I watch other streamers play and they've got hundreds of, thousands of coin, and I'm like, I have 2,000. I can't buy enough torches even. So.
Yeah, definitely been there. And again, Radiant mode doesn't make the gameplay any easier. The enemies are the exact same. They have the same hit chance, same damage. It just makes the resource management easier. And again, you don't spend as much time on a playthrough, making it easier to lose a hero instead of needing, I think it's like 48 experience to get a level 6. On Radiant mode, it's something like 36 experience.
Okay.
So it makes it much easier to take the blow of losing the level 6 hero, going, oh shit, I can get him there in 3 battles or 3 missions instead of 7.
Right. Yeah, sounds amazing. So that sounds amazing. And definitely the next time I want to do just a quick trial of something, I may switch to Radiant mode for that reason. But talk to us on the other side about Blood Moon. I've seen you play Blood Moon, and I don't understand what that is. Is that just like the hard difficulty? Does that take it to the other extent, or what's Blood Moon doing?
So Blood Moon is the game plus some. It definitely increases enemy difficulty slightly. I believe it gives them all 20% more health. Every enemy gets an additional percentage of health. I can't remember what. And you really notice it. You're fighting bosses with 300 health on them, and you're like, okay, shit just got real. Whereas many other little things happen. So in Blood Moon, you have a time limit. You only get 100 weeks to clear all of the main bosses. So you need to kill the Countess, and you need to clear the Darkest Dungeon. All the other bosses are just side stuff that you can do for extra loot along the way. And it also gives you a hero death limit, which is the biggest factor. You can only lose a certain number of heroes on Blood Moon before it's game over. You get a nice little piece of text that says something along the lines of, too much blood was spilt and the eldritch horrors came to life, kind of thing. And that adds a lot more to the game, where, you lose 4 heroes in the first 20 weeks. You're going to get a little worried thinking, shit, if I lose 4 more heroes in the next 20 weeks, I could be in hot water. I might not win this playthrough.
Wow.
But there's so many little changes, I can't even think of them all. Like, Torchlight depletes by 7 a step instead of 6. Enemy accuracy is increased, I believe. I don't think their damage is increased, though.
See, I really like this. I like the fact that, because I had no idea about this, and but I'd seen a little bit about Blood Moon, so I had a hint of maybe there was something different. But I like the fact that effectively their easy mode, it seems really well thought out, because the typical formula for any game is, well, they don't have as much health, they don't hit as hard, and which means you can do better, and that's all any game ever does for an easy mode. And a hard mode is just everything is 1.5x for a hard mode on almost, I feel like, every other game. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I like that it feels a lot more thought out, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everything in Darkest Dungeon feels so fleshed out and so thought through. I don't even, a little bit I played like 20 hours or so. I'm like, I don't need more of a challenge. Like, this is okay for now. And the amount of time you can put into a game like this is just insane. And obviously the new DLCs and stuff like that. There's now an endless mode and stuff like that, if we get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, the endless mode will be interesting. I was really hoping that one of us had gotten to it yet. I have not. I think we're watching an endless mode right now, because they just keep going. I think a certain number of enemies you have, just seeing how far you can get. But I guess that'll have to be for later. Check the RogueHQ Discord, and when one of us gets to it, we'll have to post on it in the channel for Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I can. Oh man, I'm dreaming Darkest Dungeon right now, just thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention as well, right now, it's actually on the Steam sale. Darkest Dungeon actually is one of those games, which I didn't think it would be. Now, Color of Madness is still straight $5. They didn't discount that, but it's well worth the $5 for the additional modes that you get, at least as far as I can tell right now.
If you want all the DLC too, it's like 15 for everything, I believe. So, or it's like 20 or something like that.
But Darkest Dungeon, I feel like almost never goes on sale. So the fact that it all is, and all the DLCs except for Color of Madness right now, that's a nice little incentive. So, speaking of which, let's talk about the Steam sale. Have you been able to check it out at all, or see any of the games that are on there?
The first thing I saw was Darkest Dungeon. Obviously, that being on sale, and there's a bunch of stuff right now. A lot of AAA stuff, and there's a lot of roguelike stuff as well.
Yeah, I went to the... Yangs, did you see anything on there in particular?
I have been purposely avoiding it because my wallet can't take the hit.
I've
been trying desperately not to go and look. There's so many games I want to pick up. I've been waiting for this sale, and now that it's here, I'm broke.
Oh, bummer. You gotta go just pretend to be an Uber for a while and ask for cash. I don't know. Do something. Gotta get some money. One thing I like that you can do is there's actually a tag. If you go to the More Tags section, you can put in, there's a roguelike tag that you can grab, and then so you can actually look at what's in the sale. Actually, if you go to top sellers within there, like Everspace right now, I just got actually gifted that, but that's right now on sale for just under $10. And actually, I'm just noticing right now, Gino's saying hi. Second episode hype, definitely. Thanks for listening, and thanks for tuning in. Everyone else in the chat as well. We will be getting to a Q&A section later as well for anyone wanting to ask some questions, Darkest Dungeon or otherwise related. So stay tuned. But Dead Cells is 40% off right now, down to $12. Darkest Dungeon, huge discount. Some of the ones that are relatively newer, like Wizard of Legend, I wasn't thinking it was going to drop at all, but it's got like 15% off. FTL, which was earlier this year, is 20% off, down to $12. Then some other huge discounts on some of the older games, like Crypt of the Necrodancer, $3 right now, like 80% discount. Enter the Gungeons half off. Binding of Isaac's 40% off, and I think some of the DLCs for that as well. And that's just kind of the top of the list. Unfortunately, a lot of games that I already have, but there are some on there that I'm probably going to end up picking up myself. I love the sales. I always wish it was a deeper discount, but then again, I love supporting the developers who are doing good work, so I don't mind it the other way, too.
There's some pretty good deals out right now, too, so it's a great time, especially if you're a roguelike fan. Enter the Gungeon, I'd supremely recommend that. Obviously, in Darkest Dungeon being so cheap, I'd say just pounce on everything while you still can.
Exactly. And it goes, how long does the sale go for? Is it a full week?
July 5th, 6th?
Oh, well, it's 2 weeks
July
then.
5th.
Yeah,
July
that's...
5th.
It will be ending the day of our next podcast, so there's a nice little plug for us for next time. So anyway, E3. I have my thoughts. Ontario, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your main takeaway, game you're looking forward to, thing that you were really disappointed about? And then Yang, same question to you. I'd love to hear from both of you guys. E3, what did you think last week?
Yeah, I tend to try to stick away from watching a lot of the streams. The only stream I really did catch was the PlayStation one, and that was just weird and choppy and kind of was bad. The big stuff I was looking at was, like, I'm a racing fan, so Forza Horizon, the new Forza Horizon's coming out. That, and then some Destiny 2 DLC news. That was really it for me. There wasn't really anything that pulled me in. I thought the new Spider-Man kind of looked cool as far as the movement system. I don't think I'll ever play it, but it looked... That's about it for me. I wasn't too drawn in by really anything this year.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts?
Where do I start? Oh man, the announcements this year just had me blown out of the water. First of all, I can't seem to get my cam back up and running. Sorry guys, something went wrong there.
It's all good. It's technical difficulties is what it's always called with anything like this, as you know.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with Shadows Die Twice. Holy shit, the new let's say it's a Souls-like game, the new one. That looks amazing. Can't wait to play that. Playing as a ninja, like, come on, who doesn't love that? What else? The Last of Us 2. That looks amazing. It's just The Last of Us 2. They could have just put the name up there for me, and I would have jizzed myself.
Yeah, that trailer was brutal. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't the most interesting, but at least the name was dropped. What else? Shit.
Did either of you watch the Devolver stuff that went on this year again?
I didn't get to it this year. After you made me watch last year, so I was a little bit turned off.
Yeah.
It was a lot more. It was more of the same, but they actually did announce a few games. But surprisingly, they did not talk anything about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is the DLC every Gungeoneer has been looking forward to hearing about.
I was super disappointed by that. I know a lot of other people were. I know people are just kind of railing on them too. You know, Enter the Gungeon hasn't really spoken about when this is going to be done or when it's coming, and we still don't know anything. And we kind of expected E3 to be where we'd hear about it. Now we're kind of just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed a little odd, for sure. What do you guys think? There's a host from Puppy Lover. Thank you so much for the host. And what do you guys think about the new Fallout? Were either of you into any of the Fallout games or Fallout franchise?
Doggy. Oh yeah, baby. Fallout 73. Like, this is what we've all been waiting for. If they do it right, this is exactly what we've all been waiting for.
I definitely agree. I am having a hard time wrapping my mind around the things that they're talking about, how this would feasibly work. Like, it's meant to be, you never log into a specific server, you just log in, but you could log in with your friends, but you could do things that affect the world. And that to me, it's like, well, how can you have such an open concept, yet at the same time keep it so that not everybody's in the same thing? I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. If the things that they're saying they can actually do, I think it will be an amazing way of having a little bit more controlled, open multiplayer experience.
Yeah. I think what they're doing, this is just a theory. So say like when we were playing Torchlight, you would go out into the world, you do all the missions in the area, and if you wanted to reset the map, you would have to start a new map. I think they have a similar thing going on there where it's like, you know, you can nuke half of the wasteland and eventually you're going to be out of stuff to do. So let's restart the map, reset it, and I'm guessing it's going to be procedurally generated, or maybe you just got to wander off into the wasteland and find someone new to shoot. I honestly don't know, but I'm guessing it's going to be something along the lines of what other multiplayer survivals have done, like Ark or Conan Exiles, where it's essentially just like, I've done everything I want to do in this area, let me start in a new, fresh zone. And it's basically just going to drop your character into a new procedurally generated location. But that's all just speculation.
I mean, it's such a weird step, Fallout in general. This kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting Fallout to do that, especially because it's always been a single-player narrative, you know, pushed along experience. And you know, a lot of the stuff they're promising, like Skip says, it's a little confusing. It's a little daunting at first. So for me, I always have my guard up on this kind of thing, and I kind of expect the worst coming out of that. Honestly, that's just the kind of person I am.
Yeah, that's fair.
I expect the worst. I don't expect anything decent to come out of it. You know, I played through 4, was what it was, but doing this even caught me off guard. I know people are pretty excited for it, though, because playing Fallout multiplayer definitely will take a lot of people's fans, for sure.
When I was just talking about this with, actually, my mother who's in town, actually, we were just talking to her about how games have changed and the dynamic. If anybody who's, you know, say high school or even college age right now plays any solo games, really. I'm sure there are obviously some, but the majority of games, if you look at it, yeah, there may be a single player campaign, but they're all meant to be multiplayer. That's the focus that games are taking. They're all meant to have some type of a social aspect. Gaming is so much more social now, especially obviously with streaming. But even without it, just log into your favorite game. Like when I booted up Sea of Thieves, I had no idea I was going to be connected to 3 live people at the same time the first time I was playing it. I know, not a roguelike. Yeah, don't kill me. But it's like the antithesis of roguelikes, actually. You die and there's 0 consequences whatsoever. But all of a sudden, like, people are talking to me, and I didn't have a microphone set up at the time. I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize this was a live with people game. But it's interesting to see how that's the direction that almost every game is taken nowadays, and so it's really not a surprise to see Fallout 76 go in that direction.
I agree. I wasn't too surprised by it. It seemed like a poor choice, but by the end of the conference, by the end of their little spiel, I was sold. I was like, okay, they sound like they know what they're doing. I'll put my trust in you.
Indeed. Well, cool. Next thing I saw, actually, first thing I saw in the news that I think is really, actually, it came out of E3 too. I don't know if either of you saw the stuff going on with Beyond Good and Evil 2. That what they're doing is they're using what is his name? Gordon-Levitt, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah. They're using his company, which is called I always get it wrong. Hit Record, not Hit Record. Hit Record is the name of his company. Basically, it's crowdsourced artwork that they're going to be used for the game. And it got a lot of really negative press because what they're saying is, okay, so now you're going to be having people going out creating art for this game that they're not even going to be able to get paid for if they're not selected to be in the game. To which a lot of opponents are then saying, well, yeah, but that's like anything. You have to submit your artwork and then they pick it. This is just being crowdsourced instead. Really interesting, very polarizing topic if you spend any time reading either one of these. Ontario, I know I had fired over to you to kind of get a pre-read. Yangs, I'm sorry I didn't give you the same benefit. I should have sent that to you as well. I don't know if you'd heard much. I don't know if you heard much about it, but I mean, I'd love to hear either your thoughts. I don't even know really where I stand on it. It sounds like a great idea, but I get the other side of it as well.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a good idea. I mean, if you're going to create artwork for something like this, you're going to do it, and there's probably not going to be any financial gain in it for you. It's not like they're forcing you to do it or anything like that. But I think it's really cool, and I think it's a really good chance for some artists to really, I guess, be noticed and get artwork out there. So I think if you were anyone in that situation and wanted to do it, I'd say do it, do your best, and some really good stuff could come out of it if you are going to be creating artwork for something like that.
I completely agree. It sounds like a really good chance for little-known artists to get themselves out there. And by crowdsourcing it, they're also going to be getting their fans, people who want to participate in this. And that's probably going to produce better art, I would assume. If your passion's in there, it's going to show in their work. So by crowdsourcing it, it's like, hey, I already liked the idea. I'm going to do my best on this project, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see if it actually takes off and gets adopted by any other studios as well. Like if any other games decide, hey, this is the type of game where we want to have our fans submit their fan art, so to speak. It's not like we have a lack of games going to version 2, 3, 4, 5. It feels like we get more of those than original games, but that's another topic altogether. Interesting to see if it actually catches on and picks off for sure. The next thing I saw actually is out of E3 as well. Did either of you watch the Nintendo press? I actually really enjoyed it.
Did not.
I actually skipped that one. I wasn't too concerned with it. I don't plan to buy a Switch, so I was like, eh.
Fair enough. It was basically, in retrospect, the Nintendo conference was a new Smash Brothers conference and a couple of other games we're going to mention. And one of those surprisingly but not surprisingly was Fortnite coming to the Switch, like effective immediately. Once this announcement goes on, like bam, you can download it and play and have your Battle Royale stuff going. They had worked out beforehand. Now it's, they're fully cross-platforming and everything, except for PlayStation, of course. And this has come up a couple different times. There actually was another announcement out today that Minecraft now is available on the Switch, cross-play with Xbox and every other console except for PlayStation. Essentially, the PlayStation's current terms of service and the way their stance is that, no, if you hook in anything to our ecosystem, it's locked into our ecosystem. You can't bring things that you've purchased over to us, nor can you take things that you've purchased here out. Very frustrating for people who started playing on PS4 and now want to have a Switch for on the go. They're stuck with having just Android or iOS on the go. I guess from my perspective, it's sort of like, well, PlayStation is the front runner, but it feels like they're intentionally not playing fair with others because they're the front runner.
No, that's exactly what I gathered from it too. Is they don't wanna work with Xbox, and they don't wanna work with other units because they are the front runner, and Xbox is super behind exclusives, things like that. So, I think even in the article that you pulled for us said, it's a smart business decision. They're on top and they want to stay there, so they don't want to be working with Xbox or even the Switch.
Which, I mean, seems kind of strange because let's say Switch or Xbox or some version like that actually takes off and they start to get market like ahead in the market, then PlayStation would find themselves behind, not be able to crossplay, while the leader of the industry would be doing the crossplay. Do you think that would make them change their minds, or is this something that you think they're going to stick by to try and hold on to their core?
Yeah, I don't really know if they're going to stick with it or whatnot. I mean, there's a very few crossplay games at the time that I even know of. There's like Fortnite, Rocket League's big in crossplay, and a few other games. So it's not something that's huge yet, especially with Fortnite. It's just being to play anyway. It's not like they're losing out on game sales or anything like that with this game. And they probably get some of the purchase for the microtransactions and stuff like that. So they're probably losing some revenue that way. If people are just going to go with Xbox or just going to go with the Switch for just playing Fortnite and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of the true gamers are on PS4, and that's where a lot of them tend to stick, is PS4 and PC, and Xbox is really lagging behind. The Switch, I think, like every other person in the country owns, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, PlayStation's the big kid in the sandbox, and they're not willing to share their toys.
Exactly.
Basically it.
That's pretty much. I mean, I would love to see them find a way to make it work. Versus, because I think what's frustrating is that if anyone had ever done anything with their Epic account on PlayStation 4, they're locked out of hooking that into Switch, so it's not even just a, hey, your stuff is stuck there. It's nope, you have to create a different account now. It's like wholesale lockout on creating an account on Switch or Xbox, which feels a little bit difficult because, I've used the same account on different consoles and never had an issue there. But this full sale lockout, it definitely is not playing nice with others. I'd love to see something change, especially for those, like, let's say you have it and you want to disconnect it. That don't hold accounts ransom. I mean, that's probably the number one thing they're trying to protect against, but it seems it's very off-putting as a gamer, and I'm like, well, PS4 is sort of my secondary, and I'm kind of like, ugh, I'd rather stick to PC full-time now if that's the way they're going to be starting to play.
Yeah, it'll make a lot of people jump ship when you force us to do something like that. People are going to push back. It's kind of the way we want to be. Like, oh, you mean I can only use PlayStation? Then I won't use PlayStation at all. I'm out, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I did that with Xbox. I just got tired of Xbox and its problems and never went back.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that, and it feels also like a lot of people who get mad at airline companies and say, I'll never fly them again. And the truth is, the statement actually means I'll never fly them again until they're the cheapest airfare. I feel like I'll never play you again until you've got that one console exclusive game that I've been waiting for. I guess I'll come back. So that's
a good point.
I feel like that might be what they're leaning on. That, like, man, we still have the best games that all of you who say you're mad at us are going to keep coming back for. And there really is no good answer to that as gamers. I feel like if you want to play the game, you have to play it where it's available.
Yeah, I mean, and like the next console generation, whenever that comes out, I know they said it's 3-4 years out still at this point. That's where it's going to get interesting, and that's where I think if you're deciding on a console, that's where that decision's going to factor in. Because I'd say most people that are playing games and are really into exclusives and things like that, you either have an Xbox One or you either have a PS4 or you have both. And you've made your decision now at this point. And obviously console sales are not going to be as big right now, and that next generation is going to be pretty interesting to see who comes out on top.
For sure. I definitely thinking, and that's part of it too, is with the Switch specifically. I don't think anybody's thinking of them in terms of a console. I think the Switch has basically taken over the mobile gaming preference. Like, that's definitely the niche it's fallen into, which almost makes this decision for Fortnite really weird, because you can cross-play onto iOS and Android, but not Switch. And a lot of people are saying, look, Switch is not your competitor. For like, people will buy a Switch who have a PS4. They're going to play their PS4 at home. They're going to take their Switch on the road with them, and they want to have their same stuff. But they're going to be primarily playing on the PS4. And that's, for me, I've got a Vita right now, which is end of life, never going to see another Vita again, just because I wanted something for travel. And I'm going, the Switch makes a lot more sense for travel because it's a much more powerful, and versatile machine for travel. So I find it odd that the Switch is getting categorized on one hand as the full-on console competitor, but no buyers seeing it that way.
I never thought of it like that. I kind of see it as a handheld too, now that you say it. It's definitely like the new top of the line handheld in my eyes. I just didn't think of it like that.
It's really the only handheld at this point, other than like the Vita and stuff like that. It's way gone. Vita's been dead for now. I think they're done with production at least.
Yeah, they've announced they're no longer making anymore.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Nintendo's always been good at. DS and things like that over the years, they always dominate the handheld market, and especially getting titles like Fortnite and stuff like that. They are the only option that you're going to have for mobile gaming.
Oh, come on. The N-Gage was so good. What are you talking about?
Anyway. It had great exclusives, like nothing.
I don't remember. I remember holding one once, and that's about as far as it went. It's an interesting little device. For any of you who don't know, just Google it. Interesting. N-Gage. I think it's N-G-A. I don't remember how to spell it. Google N-Gage. You'll find it. So
you'll be promptly disappointed by it.
Thank you, Endercrow, for the follow as well. All right, last piece that I got. This one's a little bit more serious, but the World Health Organization officially gave a classification to gaming disorder as a mental health condition. Now, some people are saying this is way too premature. The terms that they give in there, actually, if you read about it, it does seem really general. But they do have some specifics, if I read through here real quick. The characteristics of it is, one is that your gaming behavior takes precedence over other activities to the extent that your other activities like work, etc., are pushed to the periphery. And that the second is that even when those things start to impact you negatively, it doesn't stop the behavior. And finally is that it leads to significant distress, impairment around personal, family, social, exercising, stopping, all those things like that. It's being akin to what they're saying is very similar to people who struggle with a gambling disorder, in that addictive sense of it pushes everything else aside. I don't know what you guys have thought about that, because I read this and I went, oh no, I definitely feel like there are times in my life when I have some things like that, but I definitely don't not work. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this being officially designated? Is this something everyone's already known, or is this too early, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's kind of right up my alley. I'm a big psychology guy, and I love that kind of stuff. And, with a lot of stuff in psych, it's so hard to generalize somebody into a certain spot. You look at anxiety disorders, they just have a catch-all term of GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. And with something like this and reading it, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if somebody's doing this, it could be a form of coping, could be a form of stress release, anything along that line. So it could be something they're doing to actually benefit them if they're playing a lot and it's kind of affecting other things. And on top of that, other things will come in, and you can't just use this as a catch-all diagnosis for someone playing a lot of video games. It's not going to work. You're going to have look for depression, anxiety, anything along those lines is going to be affecting this. And I feel like maybe delving into gaming too much isn't necessarily this disorder. It's caused by something else. Depression and anxiety to come, first and foremost over anything, and that's what would put somebody more into a shell, and maybe they're just gaming 24/7 and can't hold a job, whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said there. It's more of maybe a crutch than an actual problem. You are depressed, therefore you're bottling in and playing video games because that's what you do. I kind of like the way you put it. I can admit myself, I'm totally addicted to video games, but not to the point where I'm like calling in to sick work today, new game released, or like, oh, can't go have some drinks with my buddies, gotta play some games. But it's undeniable that if I don't play video games, I tend to find myself lost at times. Like that's what I do. That's who I am. So yeah, where do you draw the line at addiction and just a hobby, or maybe something more than a hobby? But
I mean, as I was reading, I was having those same questions, and I guess I was also thinking as well about myself, going, well, hey, if this is the outcome I don't want, because I wouldn't want any of those things. I wouldn't want my life to suffer because of video games. It almost looks like the article here, or the descriptions that they give, almost tell you exactly what you need to do to prevent it. I mean, it says one thing is, your exercise starts to dip, not taking care of yourself, not eating right, not spending time where you should on the things like work, like friends and family. And I'm like, okay. So it feels like almost, if you're not there yet and you are worried about, I could be heading down this path, well, let's focus on things. How often do I exercise? Do I get to the gym a couple to a few times a week, even for a short period of time? Am I focusing on my work when I'm at work and not like trying to do everything I can to sneak a video game in the middle of work? Which I know nobody has ever done. Not saying this ever happens. But you know what I mean. It's trying to be a little bit more intentional about, okay, gaming is great. Obviously, it's super fun. It's very social, as we've talked about. But making sure the other things that I would otherwise push aside also stay as a priority, I think is a good check for those of us who aren't fully addicted, but could see it going down that path if we're not careful.
Yeah, I think it's something that is, with that whole thing, it's too generalized and stuff like that. People do get addicted to stuff. It's, there's alcoholism, gambling addictions, and things like that can happen. And you could be addicted to video games as well, but there's always going to be a driving factor behind that. It's not just gaming did it. You can't just go out there and say that. And that's why if somebody is, diagnosed with something like this, it's way too general. There's going to have to be 4 other diagnoses behind that, because there needs to be a driving force behind it, versus there's a reason, not just because like, hey, I like games so much that I'm not going to go out every time, or any time or anything like that. So
yeah, like an alcoholic doesn't drink because they love to drink. There's some other reason there. You know what? Maybe I just corrected myself. I like to drink. Am I an alcoholic too?
No, that's not the definition. Yeah, I mean, it's there's more that goes into it. Just to be clear,
there's a lot more than just I like to drink. There's a lot more than I like to play video games. That's what I do. There's got to be another level to it.
Like Veron's saying, it's not an addiction, it's a lifestyle. I completely agree with that. If your lifestyle's gaming and you're going to spend a lot of time around that, it's actually can be quite healthy. I mean, like the article that you sent us, there's a lot of benefits to gaming and things like that for people that are into it. I mean, you know what? It's such a good stress reliever and things like that. Unless you're playing Darkest Dungeon, then it's really not a stress.
A stress causer.
Stress causer, exactly.
I used to have hair, and I played Darkest Dungeon. That's what happened. So yes, I mean, also, so this would be the section. If Veron, thanks for throwing the comment in there. Q&A time, guys. We're kind of towards the end of our prepared content here. We'll keep talking a little bit. If you have any questions about Darkest Dungeon, Yangarangs is still here. Video's still broken, but he is still obviously here. You're hearing him. Questions maybe about some of the things that we talked about from E3, anything else like that, please do throw them into the chat. But while we're waiting for any possible questions to come up, Ontario, I will leave it to you. Why don't you talk about what we got going on next time? Because I know you're going to like this conversation a lot.
Yes. So next 2 weeks, July. It's already July. Oh man, July 5th, same time, right?
Yep.
Right, Skip.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bad time, same bad jet. Yep, we are going to be talking some Enter the Gungeon. I'm so excited for this one because I love this game with Grace Note. Grace Note is an insane Darkest Dungeon streamer. I've seen lit streaks.
Or Enter the Gungeon, you mean?
Or sorry, Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon streamer, lit streaks in like 20s and stuff like that. So he's like, me and Skip combined, he's about 10 times better than both of us.
Agreed. I'm excited for that. So that'll be July 5th. July 5th. Yeah, the last day. Just remember, when that Steam sale ends and you're all broke and have nothing better to do, come and tune into the podcast.
Yeah, you can't go out and get anything. You're gonna have to come to us.
Exactly.
For free. It's free entertainment.
This is the only free entertainment you're gonna get, other than every other channel on Twitch. But this one is the one you want. Exactly. So we do have a question from Red Slayer. Starter tips for Darkest Dungeon. I'm going to just toss this one to you, Yangarangs. Starter tips. Go ahead.
Starter tips. All right. Number 1 is team composition. You gotta really learn what skills are worth bringing on what characters. Don't bring an occultist and put him on the front row because that's where his abilities are. That occultist is officially garbage. An occultist on the front row will spell disaster. Another really good starting tip is antiquarians early game are huge. They can make you a lot of money really quick, and you're going to need that. Oh, man, are you going to need that?
So explain real quick how to use the antiquarian properly, because I didn't know this until I was on your stream and you mentioned it, and I went, well, I've not been using it right. So can you explain how do you get more stuff with the antiquarian? This is not logical.
Yeah, with the antiquarian, you have to loot everything with her. So when you open up a bag with her, she finds extra loot because she's capable of this or whatever. She finds antiques to take back and sell. You could even loot a torch and find gold or antiques around it just because she's that good at finding stuff. So it's all in just making sure everything you touch with the antiquarian.
And can I also say, the antiquarian has become one of my favorite support characters in general, because one of her attack abilities is buffing your entire team, I believe, with speed and dodge or something like that. I don't remember. Do you know the attack I'm talking about, Yangarangs?
Yeah, it's I believe it's a team-wide buff for dodge.
For dodge.
And it ends up adding like 10 dodge at max level, which is
you can
solid.
stack it 3 times, which is crazy. Crazy amazing dodge.
My personal favorite ability that she offers is the Force Guard. It's called Protect Me, and you target someone and they have to guard her. And then that, in combination with a Highwayman's Riposte or a Man-at-Arms Riposte, will make her very helpful in a riposte team, a team that you built around counterattacking.
So talk a little bit about riposte, because I didn't discover riposte until accidentally, probably after being 60 hours in. How does that actually, what do you look for, and when does it make sense to do a riposte?
Just about any time is good for riposte. You can riposte anything that deals damage to you, even a stress attack, which is amazing. Say an enemy's using a stress attack on your character and you kill them with the riposte, you don't take that stress damage because they didn't successfully do the attack, the incantation or whatever they did. So you take 0 stress damage on a stress attack that you riposte and kill with, if that makes sense. But the biggest thing about riposte is you got to keep in mind it's a melee attack. So build your Highwayman for melee damage, and it is dangerous at the same time. So you're counting on a character taking damage, which in turn can add up real quick. If you didn't bring the right heals, that character is going to be in critical condition, but the enemies are still going to want to hit him because you have a mark on him or whatever. Like you're trying to draw their attack that direction, and that has screwed me over at times. 3 enemies attack the same guy, and suddenly you're on death's door praying that the next one doesn't kill you.
Yeah. So, and I also know with the character composition thing, just thinking about this, you actually wrote up a fair amount about it in our Discord on the Darkest Dungeon channel, which I've used a couple times when I'm trying to figure out who do I bring into a certain area. So that has been a very helpful hint for me, even though I'm definitely not startering. I'm definitely currently dying in all the champion levels. But it was very helpful for me just to get a little bit extra edge. So if you're not in the Discord, Red Slayer, go to discord.roguehq.xyz. That'll bring you into our Discord, and you can find the Darkest Dungeon channel.
There's a link.
Yeah, it's true. There's a link right there on the panel below. And then look for the Darkest Dungeon channel and scroll back a month or so.
I think.
Yeah, and you'll find a big, long post around here's what to bring into which areas and some good compositions and stuff like that. It's just very helpful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Yangs, for putting that together. It was very helpful.
My pleasure. My aim with that was to keep it somewhat vague so that you can still have a bit of freedom. You can still build the team, but I gave you ideas as to who does best where. You don't want to bring a flagellant into the cove because everything resists bleed, or you don't want to bring a crusader into the Weald. Nothing there is undead. It's worthless kind of thing. I just wanted to give hints and ideas to guide you towards making the decisions on your own and learning quicker that way. So I'm glad it really helped you guys out.
Yes, Gino gave me a great tip. I will pin that as soon as I'm done here. That's a great tip. I forget about pins every now and then, but I will definitely pin that. Thank you for that tip, Gino. Cool. Any other questions? I think we're going to be wrapping up here in a second. So you got a few seconds to throw one in before we kind of end. But I do want to say thank you so much, Yangarangs, for being here for episode number 2. This has been great. I loved talking about Darkest Dungeon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, man. Sorry the camera didn't work.
That's okay. It's fine. You still got, my beautiful face to look at here, so we're good to go.
Yeah, where's the hat? Where's the getup?
I decided for the podcast to go sans hat to do more of the headset, look. So
good call.
The headset is the hat right now.
Been showing off that bald head a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I let it grow in just a little bit. You can't really. I was having issues earlier with the spot on it was showing through on the green screen, so I had to adjust it on the fly. It was kind of weird. But okay, as we're exiting though, Yangs, before you leave, favorite flavor of ice cream? Asked by Gino. What's your favorite flavor?
Ooh, a mint chocolate chip.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, 100%, no hesitation.
Yeah, you had that
in, Bob.
You had that right there. That was ready to go. Ontario, do you have a favorite?
Birthday cake, probably.
Really?
I really like birthday cake, especially super rich. So good.
Nice. I'd say for me, if I had one flavor of a brand, there is a Ben & Jerry's one called the Americone Dream, which has got Stephen Colbert's picture on it. It's like a waffle cone chocolate chip, caramel, and vanilla combo. It's delicious. Ooh. But of your standard flavors, I normally go cookies and cream. Can't go wrong with that. So...
This cone tastes like America.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's the Americone Dream. I love it. I tried it because the name was amazing and I was happy. It's great. So it's amazing. Anyways, your favorite birthday cake is flavored ice cream, or your favorite is just actual birthday cake? That is a good question. Do you like birthday cake or just the ice cream itself?
I like both. I mean, I tend to actually like the ice cream more than an actual birthday cake.
Do you do birthday cake with birthday cake ice cream on it?
Well, you'd have to, of course. I mean, that's just doubling down at that point.
I've never had the birthday cake ice cream on a birthday cake. That may have to happen coming up in about a month and a half here. So,
while you're at it, get some birthday cake flavored donuts. You're ready. You're good. You're set.
Oh my! Okay, I'm just imagining a birthday cake flavored donut ice cream sandwich. That's just what's going to happen now that you mentioned this.
You guys don't have birthday flavored donuts?
I have seen them, yeah.
Okay, I was like, is Canada just that far ahead of you guys right now?
You guys are just way advanced.
As far as donut technology, you guys are up there. Yeah, I don't see them. I don't see them everywhere, but I don't see them everywhere. They're not common, but I have seen that at good old Dunkin', so it has shown up. So, Veront says he get birthday cake stuff, but it's not his birthday yet. Yeah, well,
Every day's your birthday. Just every single day.
May as well not wait for it. Puppy Lover says birthday cake shakes from Cold Stone are the best. I've never been a huge Cold Stone fan, but next time someone tells me I have to go, now I got something else to look for there because I've never been too happy, but I will take your advice on that one to try it. I like how once Gino brings up ice cream, now everybody's got a question
like,
answered.
hey.
Everyone can relate to ice cream.
Not Darkest Dungeon, but ice cream.
Exactly. So, anyways, thanks everybody so much for showing up. Again, definitely tune in next time. Again, there it is. Episode 3 is going to be Enter the Gungeon with special guest Grace Note. And meanwhile, check out Yangarangs' channel. Check out Grace Note to actually watch between now and then because he's great. And make sure you're in the Discord if you're not. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for stopping by, everybody.
Adios.